Hey y'all, you're listening to Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies, the DSM podcast. We help make mental health more comfortable by using Black movies and shows we know and love and culture to remove stigma. So join our convo with your host, Courtney Copeland, licensed mental health counselor.
And Dr. B, licensed professional counselor.
You know it's hard out here for a pimp.
You know it's hard out here for a pimp.
You gotta push that shit out.
Pimp.
Push them, say them P's real hard.
Jump and shit.
Push that shit out.
You know it's hard out here for a pimp when he trying to get this money for the rent.
So, Dr. Rosie, I am so excited today because not only are we about to get into the 2005 drama / romance. I hate that they call this romance. No one's
It's very romantical.
Should look like this. Not at all. In my book, it's a comedy after the second time I watched it, but neither here nor there. But we're going to be getting into Hustle and Flow this episode. But most importantly is that we got company today, girl.
We got company. I love company.
And so, listeners, this episode is very special because we are being joined by, we have our illustrious company guests from the podcast Fish Jelly. We have Nick and Joseph. Welcome.
Thank you. We're very excited to be here.
Mm-hmm. And we're happy to have you. We just are happy and excited that someone liked our hot mess of a podcast enough to be like, hey, we want to be guests over there.
we often feel the same.
Right. Someone cares to listen.
Yes, this is our first podcast collaboration episode. So this is exciting.
Because you have had guests before. I know that you have. Yeah. But
we've had guests, but this is our first podcast co-sharing guest company episode / It's
quite the honor.
Yes, that's exciting.
And so for our listeners who live under a rock and might not know about your podcast, like Patrick Starr, can you please tell us a little bit about yourselves?
So we're married for 15 years now. Nick is a real film critic. He writes for a number of outlets and has been doing that for quite some time. And then about 3 years ago, we decided to make a review channel. And my sort of caveat for participating was that we would have to spoil the movies. I don't like talking about movies without telling the entire story.
Right.
So, yeah. So basically that's our brand. Like, we spoil movies. Nick is by far more knowledgeable about cinema than I am. So I give kind of like the layperson's view of most things.
That's me.
But I think we complement each other very well.
Yes.
I would agree.
Yeah, thank you.
And so, with that being said, I think that's a great introduction. And I think that we're ready to go ahead and get into this hustle and this flow. And so, Dr. Rosie, you already kicked us off with your rendition.
I mean, I got more if you need it, just in case. No, I'm just kidding. I'm good.
Okay. I was going to give you space and opportunity.
It can't be given. I have to just take it,
okay.
Yeah. But one of my favorite and unfortunate quotes for this movie is, because I felt it. Like you said, for me, this second time around watching it, I felt like I understood it on a different level that I didn't when I initially watched it as a kid. So not that anyone cares, but I was 15 years old when I first watched it. And it was kind of funny. It was awkward to watch. It was like kind of cringy a little. Like, what is happening here? Why is this their lifestyle? And then as an adult, I'm like, oh, I get it. I wasn't as judgmental. I actually can empathize a lot with what they were saying. And so one of the things he said was, I'm here trying to squeeze $1 out of a dime, and I ain't even got a cent, man. And that resonated so well for me, especially like coming up as an adult, like the times I've had to really struggle to make something happen. And that struck a chord. I don't know. This time watching it I was like, ooh, that's deep. I didn't see it as funny. I was like, this. Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite. And so first, let me give, our little disclaimer of that sex work is real work. And so there are no judgments here. We, again, are okay with this film because there's ethical pimping that happens here. There's not unethical pimping. No one is being held against their will. There is some slight manipulation, but very, very little coercion, in which case we're comfortable with this level of pimping, very different from our experience with the Mac. But when I watched the movie the first time, when I guess I was 16 then, I was like, oh, it's so artistic and it's so emotionally heavy, and I like the lighting, and this is what Quentin Tarantino movies would look like if he actually grew up around Black people. It didn't just watch them on films. Aside from the gratuitous violence and gore. But then now watching it is absolutely hilarious, and I laugh every time. What? Fuck with me, DJ. Fuck with me. Fuck with me, DJ. Oh, that takes me out every time. Every time.
I mean, there's a lot of very funny quotable dialogue throughout, but I think my favorite is when the white guy Shelby's like, if you had to say something different other than beat that bitch, what would it be? He's like, oh, I don't know, stop that hoe. And that scene's so good, but yeah, there's a lot of comedy to it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, he said, I ain't out here trying to call hoes no bitch. Yeah, most bitches I know are guys.
Right.
That was another good one. That's true.
I think for me, being a hairstylist, hearing Paula J. Parker's character dig into Nola.
Ooh.
That entire scene where they're on the couch.
It's so uncomfortable. It's so hilarious.
Paula tells Elise, like, if you think her hair looks like a wet dust mop, go on and tell her so. I do.
Right.
And then she's like,
swamp duck hoe.
God, everybody else says my hair looks sexy.
And then they nut. So that resonated with me.
Well, and also how Paula J. was sitting, like her crotch is out on that couch.
Okay. She gave no fucks. Zero
we
fucks.
We talk about Sharon Stone, but I don't know. I think Lexus gives her a run for her money.
Okay.
Also, the name Lexus makes me think of the comedian Adele Givens talking about your name's Lexus, but you look like a Buick. But I do like Paula J.
I do too.
I love her. She's amazing.
I loved her, but I hated her accent.
Oh,
was it just me? Was it like hers
all
was
of
the
their
worst?
Accents.
Hers was the worst of them.
Interesting. I wasn't
definitely the most pronounced. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But you don't usually get to see her like this, which, because Terrence Howard got an Oscar nomination, but I think all three of the supporting ladies are really good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it came out now, people would put that, maybe they'd campaign for them, but all three of them, I got teary watching. There's scenes with all of them that I've seen this before and I was like crying again.
You cried?
I did. When he kicks Paula J. Parker out of the house, I think.
And Taraji's crying with the little baby. Yeah, I got emotional with that.
And then when Taraji says thank you, when she gives him the necklace and she says thank you.
Yes.
That's a really good scene.
Yeah.
Or Taryn Manning too, but yeah.
Yeah, I think my hot and heavy moment came on. I was like, when he came back and ran back in and gave her that, I was like, oh, yes. That was everything. I wanted to know if that was real.
They're pretty sweaty, and I'm very sensitive to smells. I don't know. And she's hot because she's covered in baby oil or baby powder.
Right? You saw the baby powder?
All throughout the film. Like, she made sure that she was dry.
unless that was that Tussie deodorant. I don't know what that was, but...
Not Tussie.
I should put Tussie on the titties, though.
But speaking about Paula J. Parker, do you remember that reality show Hollywood Divas?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She was on that, and I felt like she was kind of acting a little bit Lexus on that show. So
was she? I need to look this up.
She went to a real place for that character.
Her on that reality show, she and her significant other they were homeless. They lived in like a motel and yeah.
Wow.
So,
Forgot about
yeah.
that.
Which is a shame because I think she's such a talented actor. She should be working more. But
Right, she should.
shout out to Paula J. And the movie Sprung.
Oh God.
Yes.
Classic cinematography that might be on a future episode of Diagnosing
Ooh.
Sitcoms.
I was like, let me
Yes.
write that down.
The same guy that did Sprung did Tales from the Hood.
Tales from
I didn't
the
know
Hood
that.
still gives me nightmares. I can't reference it without it bringing immediate flashbacks of
sorry.
horror.
Oh, we should certainly do an episode of that then too.
That's our next
Writing that
Halloween
down.
episode. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fear.
Mhm.
But a quote from this movie that I just say on a regular basis now, it's just crept into, my day to day is, good leather keeps you at the temperature you want to be at.
Okay, that was the biggest lie I ever heard.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
None whatsoever. He just wanted to look expensive and
Mhm.
apparently leather or fur, one of the two. And he had his little good leather jacket.
That's a very good one.
Right. Very good. I like that one, Courtney.
I do my job. I come and I show up. But it comes from a very real place because being poor, you do see the very corny men that feel like they need to wear their leather in all 4 seasons. And it's a very real thing. And I don't know why, but each time I see it, I'd be like, oh, that's that good leather. They at the temperature they want to be at.
I did appreciate that he felt like he needed to present his best self. But yeah.
Yeah, because the short sleeve button ups with the shirt or tank top under it was just not gonna cut it. No one's gonna take anyone serious with that on.
Not
I mean,
for the
I'm
4th
sorry
of
if that's your
July.
wardrobe. Right,
He had to put on his real pimp clothes. He had to,
Honey,
those were his
the
day
Steve
pimp
Harvey
clothes.
pants. You saw the Steve Harvey slacks.
The
honey.
Steve
I
Harvey
said,
cargo pants with the gators. Okay.
Oh, Steve.
Uh,
Did
I
you
mean,
see
he-
him on the Sherry Shepherd show recently?
no. What
He was so funny. He's just funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Steve Harvey, shout out to him with his.
I
I
do have
miss
a
him
question.
having genuine opportunities to be like funny and have conversational funny as opposed to like the forced like game show.
Yes. Yeah.
Or a television host. Yeah, talking about
I do
real
have a
shit.
question though. So Taraji P's character, it seems like she's taking care of Paula's baby.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like that relationship was well attenuated, or are we just supposed to assume that like she's raising that baby? And I'm asking because her reaction when Terrence kicks Paula and the baby out of the house is so emotional. So I just assumed that maybe she raised that baby.
Well, she has the
Yes.
conversation with him about because she can't work, because she's pregnant. And
Mhm.
remember, she thinks he's going to ask her to leave. So I think that was kind of what she was assigned to do then.
Her contribution, sure. Yeah.
Watch this kid.
And as a bottom bitch, there are certain responsibilities that you take on to sustain the household. And so whatever is needed, you as the bottom bitch must provide. So I have to ask,
Hate that.
I don't know if you guys saw the live episode of our recording of the Mac, but Rosie does not, the term bottom bitch does not sit with her. I'm trying to convince her that it's a coveted position, that of the hoes, you would rather be the bottom bitch. But she feels like bottom bitch is a derogatory term. And I'm trying to, I wanted to see if you all had the same reaction to bottom bitch as when Terrence kind of explains it, like, that's a bottom bitch right there. When she bought that lava lamp and plugged that in and said, all right, y'all boys have that.
Well, I'll let you explain, Nick.
Well, I've heard that term before. Dave Chappelle brings up, and I have the book by this pimp that there's a whole chapter about the bottom bitch. And I think that was the first time.
Spurk Slim is his name.
Yep. And I have that. I haven't read it, but I think that was the first time I really understood because Dave Chappelle explains it very well. But it is a troubling term because you run your bottom bitch out till she can't do anymore. It's like you're running this woman ragged, and it's like it's troubling. But yeah, it is. There's a covetedness to the position for a little bit.
Right. And so I think it's more so like, okay, so this is the most trustworthy or the hardest working, all these things, but then to put those traits under bottom bitch just makes it sound so bad. I'm just like, why can't
you feel like she should be called top bitch? Okay.
Yeah.
Top bitch.
Yeah. I think it's the name that's the problem. We need like we need a marketing team on that to adjust the name.
Absolutely. Yes. Also we want this position to be filled. And so we need to have better names and
if we can get HR and the brand marketing team to come up with a better job position title. Yeah.
I think that'd be greatly appreciated.
And so in addition to, we'll get HR on that right away. Also wanted to just get your general opinions of the film and just how you felt watching it with the rewatch of watching it now for the purpose of this show.
Well, this was my third time watching it. I watched it last with Nick almost 10 years ago to the day. And then I watched it back in 2006, I believe. I definitely don't recall having the same reaction previously, but I think as an adult and looking at it from a different perspective, I really appreciated how these characters were humanized, especially for DJ. Like, as an adult man, I was take care of myself for the most part. I did really relate to him feeling like he's at a point of crisis and needs to figure something out. So that was a different perspective. Overall, though, I would give this film 4 out of 5. I thought it was excellent.
I agree.
It was also my third time seeing it because I saw it when it came out and then with Joseph a decade ago. And I think, getting older and having more life experience makes a lot of this more resonant. To me, it feels like it's a film that's about chosen family, which resonates a lot with me, but also noticing, after getting, since you mentioned it, master's in social work, it's like noticing attachment styles and kind of this codependent relationship where these boundaries are kind of intersecting in very interesting ways, and they're like
non-existent.
Non-existent, no boundaries really. But also what the kinship roles that these people have towards each other, because they are like a family, but there's also work, I guess, going on, survival. Just getting older and tapping a bit more into my own humanity, as everybody does when they age, is, I don't know, a lot of how these characters are fleshed out. I think it's really well done. But from a film perspective, it is a very simple story, and it kind of moves very quickly if you think about it.
Yeah.
I really just appreciate it's very Memphis. It's a very Memphis film. And the director and I believe writer as well, he's the same person, is from Memphis, and he was kind of recreating and telling the story of first there was an interview where he said that he was scouting for a location for his first film, and during that time he was out in the neighborhoods, out and about, and he saw this woman who just looked so run down and tired and raggedy and sweaty. It just looked like she had a day, but yet her pimp was he was doing his best to sell her to him, and he just said that he couldn't hear what the pimp was saying, because normally he just would have walked away. He just was staring at this woman like, she don't look like this what she want. She look like she need a nap. And so it kind of originated and kind of got him in the place of wanting to create this story. And so I just really appreciate the authenticity to Memphis. I really liked seeing 3 6 Mafia in the film, like the different things, and I liked the placement and how they used the music, and it felt very authentic. And I think that is kind of the nod back to the this is what Quentin Tarantino film would look like if he actually knew Black people. Whereas Craig, had lived around some Black folks, so he actually knew them. Where with some of just like the lighting and the way that certain things were shot, and like the even the text of in the film and the fonts of that used, it felt like that to me, and so I immediately my eye was caught to it. I liked it in that way. And I think like there are certain scenes that really stick out to me, like in the church when he's listening to the woman sing and he's having that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And even the song that she's singing with like, I told Jesus to change my name. It sounds like it's also where DJ is at, with him wanting to be different and being called to something, like really listening and tuning into himself. And so I thought that that was very cool. And I liked the way that they laid that out. And then again, I'm a goofball. So all of that aside, the movie is still very funny to me.
Ooh, child.
Hearing you talk,
I need to do better.
Hearing you talk makes me think that I'm sure the first time I watched it, I didn't respect sex work the way I do now.
Right.
As like a means to an end, and in some cases necessary for some people. So watching it, yesterday, I think I really sympathized with the female characters much more than I did when the film came out. But yeah, the music, the scene where they developed the track "Whoop That Trick."
That's it, honey.
Get 'em.
Yes.
It's Taraji holding her belly during the whoop that trick for me.
Can we talk about how cute she is?
Yeah. Loved her.
And I know, Nick, you agree. I mean, she got a nomination for Benjamin Button, but I feel like she should have been nominated for this film too.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Who was nominated this year for Best Supporting?
Who was?
Yeah.
Oh,
Who was nominated for Best Supporting
that year?
Yeah.
Oh, like Michelle, it was all white ladies, basically. I think Rachel Weisz won for Constant Gardener, which I don't understand. I remember Michelle Williams from Brokeback Mountain. I don't know, people just weren't talking about the ladies in this film in that degree. But, nobody really knew Taraji P. Henson back then. But, and, Craig Brewer, this is his second film. He's a white guy, but most of his stuff is really oriented in the culture, because he's done Dolomite Is My Name, which has a similar vibe of somebody having to make space for themselves. The Coming to America sequel, of course. But I think he did like 10 episodes of Empire, which of course is where Terrence Howard really kind of popped off. But yeah, I think she was kind of robbed that year for not getting awards attention.
Absolutely. I wish we can have a do-over. Honestly, I wish this movie came out now. I think if it came out currently, it would be appreciated a lot differently than it was then. I recall during this time, feeling like people did make fun of it initially. Like there wasn't a lot of respect for it. And as Joseph mentioned earlier, just kind of not having a respect or understanding the lifestyle that these individuals had. And before, I was looking at more so of the characters. This time I'm looking at the environment, right? So I'm paying attention to like those shots where they're, they got the shot of the gas station, or even how they're pulling into the gas station for her to get her AC and her ice pop, And so those things I started to pay attention to, and the real struggle started to really set in for me, like realizing what their environment looked like, and literally trying to put what they had together, to afford to live, and also I think another part that got to me was when I heard DJ say in his rap, he's saying that his uncle put him on to pimping. Like that's all he knew. And I feel like that's all they knew in their environment. So it did put a different type of understanding for me, because now I'm like, oh, when you're in this space and you grow up in this environment, this is how you're likely to operate. But for him to think differently also says something as well. Like, I want more for myself. I don't want to be here. I want to do more. And going back to the kid that Taraji is essentially raising, my thought, seeing him and her cry over him leaving the house or being put out, made me think like, man, I wonder how that child is going to grow up in that environment. What product are they going to be in for their community and society?
Let DJ tell it he gonna have a Twitch.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, he acknowledged that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the powerful thing, though, is the message he's trying to give to his women is, you're in charge. We can be in charge. We can do this. It's in my own mind. It's how I'm thinking about myself, and that's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because you spoke about DJs, I think when it comes to the story, the one part that was a little weak for me is I didn't quite maybe fully understand his connection with music. It just seemed like, one of his drug customers gives him a keyboard and that sparks this desire to create music. I kind of wish we would have had maybe 5 minutes of more background on his relationship with music and yeah.
My understanding or interpretation of his interest in music was the fact that he saw Skinny. What's his name? What's his full name? Skinny what?
Skinny Black.
Skinny Black,
Jesus,
that's right.
Gosh, that's such
I almost said Skinny Dip.
I was going to say Skinny Boy. Skinny Dip would have been better. So I think...
Skinny Dip, Skinny Bop, whatever your name is.
That boy name. And I think for me, how I interpret it was like he was low-key like player hating and not necessarily player hating, but he was a little envious of the fact that someone that is from where he's from made it there by using music, and that he realizes tricking these hoes ain't gonna do it, but I do have content that can turn into real rap music. And that Skinny didn't even really pimp and he wasn't even about these streets like that, but I really am. And let me show them by putting out my music. That's how I interpreted his connection with music.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And I think he talks very briefly, and I completely agree with you, like so much more. I love a full character development. I need to know all of the reasons why, and it needs to come together for me. And so when he's like, I've always had this beat in my head. And so it sounds like music was something that he was good at and that he was doing when he was a child with the stuff he was doing with Key in middle school. And because he was forced to grow up in the way that he was without very early, very like before he was ready to have to grow up, that was taken away from him. That was viewed as something childish, and you have to put away childish things as you become older because you have to take care of these responsibilities. And so this gave him an opportunity to click back into something, one, that he was good at, two, that did bring him joy at one point in time, kind of connect him to that piece of him that didn't get attuned to enough when he was younger. And then also it was when you have very limited options, sometimes it's very hard to see yourself in any other way. And so he knew that he felt distressed and he felt uncomfortable, but seeing the example with Skinny Black, somebody making it, it's like, we used to do the same thing. So this is possible. This is another way out. And with not being able to see himself in other ways, I think that was very key. And I think that leads as a great segue too into just the diagnosis, because I didn't fully give him a full-on diagnosis, but definitely feel that he is having like an existential crisis. And that's kind of what we're seeing.
I did. I diagnosed that ass and
run it down for me.
Okay, so I said narcissistic personality disorder. And I know it's typical, and we have this conversation all the time about main characters in Hollywood pretty much exhibiting narcissistic traits, which is a thing that we should probably look into and talk a little bit more about. Like, what is our obsession with narcissists? Or what is their obsession in making them an obsession? Okay, anyway, so the criteria that I feel that he meets is he has a grandiose sense of self-importance, exaggerates achievements, talents, and expected to be recognized as superior. And so for me, I think his association or this thing that he had of like being Skinny's friend and being like running around in his group of people because they went to school together, kind of increased like that grandiose sense of self. And then like even when he was working with Key and like working on the music, it almost felt like he's like, I got these bars, like, like what is the problem? Like I'm here. I've arrived because I have these styrofoam cup holders in here, and I'm a rapper. Damn it, you figure it out because you're the producer. So those are my examples. Is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, and brilliance. So again, kind of feeling like when he was leaving out of the bar and he was telling the owner, like, I'm gonna be 10 feet tall the next time you see me, right? And having this real big sense of self just because he handed over his cassette tape. And by the way, that was hilarious when you talk about comedy and how he responded to getting that cassette tape. That was hilarious. I probably would have had the same reaction as well. And believes that he is special, blah, 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 requires excessive admiration. I wouldn't say he required excessive admiration, but I think he did have a sense of entitlement, especially in feeling like he was entitled to his woman's bodies and how he made Nola. Yeah, Nola gives some guac 3000 for a microphone. Thought that was pretty fucked up, but
so at first when I was thinking about it, I was like, he definitely has some narcissistic traits or characteristics. I don't know if it's full-blown personality disorder, but hearing you just run down the criteria, I'm like, yeah, no, why did I question this earlier? It's clearly here.
Because I think also when we take down like the cultural aspect, right? When we put up the cultural aspect of it, and then we recognize like he was just doing what he knew to be and how to be. And so was that really his personality, or was that just learned from his environment?
I think those are occupational job duties. Pimping, you got to the whole has got to know. Everyone. Like, don't you walk away. Don't you ever walk away from me.
Okay.
What's wrong with you? Fuck did you just say to me? Like, pimping, okay? Like, you gotta, so some of that, I feel like you need that to be successful. Clearly, that's what it is. He had too much narcissism to be so damn unsuccessful. You out here pimping $20 hoes. You can't be narcissistic until you at a certain level. You can't be narcissistic pimping $20 hoes now.
Oh, $20?
I think that's what it is. That
makes me think of Samore saying that a man with a small dick can't raise their voice at her. I do have a question though, because Courtney, you said that DJ is having an existential crisis, and some of the synopses say that he's having a midlife crisis. And I'm wondering, is there like a diagnosis for someone going through a midlife crisis or
adjustment disorder?
Adjustment disorder is what they just throw at whenever it changes and you ain't reacting well, so that you can get covered by insurance for the treatment that you provide.
I'll keep that in mind in like 2 years.
Yeah.
But it breaks my heart that they called it a midlife crisis. And he was like in his late 20s?
Yeah.
How old do we think DJ is?
I'm thinking he's in his 30s.
I'm thinking like 28.
I need to check. How old was Terrence then?
Yeah, how old was Terrence?
He was looking kind of cute there.
Definitely was.
Terrence is very handsome.
I mean, he can get it,
Terrence ain't been cute to be Sis Player Club.
He is a tad bit crazy, but
I met him.
You've met him?
I was at roundtable interviews for the movie Dead Man Down in 2012, so it's a while ago. And so I got to sit and ask him questions with a bunch of other journalists, and he's interesting.
Eclectic?
He's eclectic. He had periodic table charts of the elements. Of
course he did.
Like, I'm going to rewrite the periodic table, and I have something like I think he said he had a pink topaz mine in South Carolina. Just like, why are we talking about
that fits. Like my envision of him, that you just confirmed all of my thoughts that I have about it. Did you look into his eyes? Did you get caught up like Prince?
Oh yeah.
Did you? It's so interesting because that quote, like the scene in the beginning where he's just talking a bunch of shit, like dogs are human and mankind and all that.
Man ain't like a dog. And when I say man, I'm talking about man as in mankind, not man as in man. But man, he know about death. See, dog don't know shit about no birthdays or Christmas or Easter bunny and none of that shit. So they going through life carefree. But people like you and me, man, we always guessing, wondering, what if? You know what I mean? So when you say to me, hey, I don't think we should be doing this. I got to say, baby, I don't think we need to be doing this neither, but we ain't gonna get no move on in this world lying around the sun licking our ass all day.
That sounds like something he would say in real life. I think that was not even like
That was
scripted.
off script.
An
That
ad
came
lib.
from him. Right, that was an ad lib for sure.
Improv.
Sorry, Joseph. You were going to say something.
No, that he was 35 when they filmed this.
Oh.
What would you qualify as midlife?
I mean, how old do you want to be?
Right.
Yeah, I guess you start with how old you want to be when you die, and then you cut it down. I don't know.
Exactly. And the
like
unfortunate
midlife
reality.
crisis 46 and up.
Okay.
I don't
We have
feel like
Well,
I mean, the
Years
average
on
American
variables.
isn't living. The average American isn't living until 100 years old, right? So when we say midlife crisis, I think we think 50s because it just is a nice number to kind of land on. But in reality, a midlife crisis for most Americans would likely be 30s, if you think about it, or 30s or 40s. Yeah, man. Yeah,
I
man.
know.
Real shit.
Triggered.
The average age of a death for Black women is actually 77 years old. So technically, right now, I'm midlife, and I'm
Higher than
crisising
I
as fuck.
expect than I would have guessed it to be, though. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
I'll
Interesting.
clock out around
Because
then.
the world is trying to kill us. I'm glad that we out here resisting till 77.
Yeah, good for us.
Well, and I mean, I feel like I have to mention also Black trans women's life expectancies are much lower. So
Mhm.
True.
Mhm.
True. And like when you think about their environment for that social economic status, it's probably significantly lower too. Right. So
He
yeah.
mentioned his dad dying at a young age when he was at a young age, and him
Yes.
trying to, and that I felt like was an incorporation of the existential crisis that he was having of like,
Mhm.
where is my life going? What is my legacy going to be if I were to die today? Like with even the song, the Keep Hustling song or the Hustle and Flow song, whichever
Keep
one where Taraji sings,
hustling.
that one.
Yeah.
The tagline is "It ain't over for me. It ain't over for me." It's because
Keep
he's like,
hustling. Sorry.
that's so beautiful. So
Thanks.
beautiful.
You gotta close your eyes so that you can really feel it, you know?
Very sweet.
Like Nola with her head out the window. It was great. But all of that is like adding to like in kind of a testament to where he is and trying to redefine what his life is and where he's going and looking around with what is existing and what he's achieved so far and not being okay with it and saying like it has to change. And so I think that if DJ was my client, if I was seeing him while during his prison sentence, while he's in jail, I think existential therapy is what I would want to kind of use with him and kind of what is that legacy? If you were to die today, what does that legacy look like? And if we're happy with that, then we're happy with that. And if we're not, then let's build from there. Let's kind of look at meaning making. What do you want certain things to be going forward and kind of reestablishing that? Because he does have the hope of with the self-coping statements of I'm in charge, we're in charge, repeating that and having the belief of that. It gives a lot of hope and it gives a lot of insight to him feeling that he does have a possible future and that he does feel that he has the capability of achieving more. Okay, so then what are the things that you need in order to get to that place? And I think what is good for him is that he did have Nola in his life. Not all of us have access to a white woman that will go out there and sell box for you in order to further your dream. And so with that level of support, like he can then achieve, like, because what happens for most people is you have this dream. And then when you get so close to the dream, that's where the real test comes. And so for him, that was going to jail. And he had someone to continue the mission. Because unfortunately for a lot of people, once you get hit with that life circumstance, you go to jail and you don't have anyone that can support you in that way. That's where the dream dies.
Ooh, I have a question related to that then, because I'm choosing to think that, the movie ends to me in a hopeful way that he probably will become a successful recording artist. But do you think if he were your client and he does become successful, that he would be very difficult to rein in versus if his music doesn't pop off? Like, which scenario would offer him the best prognosis?
That's a really
I think
good
he's
question.
so resilient, and if he could, like he said, if he could pimp $20 hoes, he could pimp skinny. So I feel like if whether or not it pops off, he's going to continue to survive. He's going to find a way, and even if he is just local famous, I feel like even that would be a far cry of achievement than where he is right now, and he would be a certain level of satisfied with that. Would he aspire for more? Yes, but I feel like even if local fame is all that he achieved, he would be okay. And so I think the larger being able to handle the demands of an extremely successful rap career might be the more difficult, because he does not know how to navigate that in a different way. Like, he beat the shit out of Skinny Black in a bathroom for throwing away his tape. Can you, like, how many people get their demos thrown out? You can't, assault the person and then shoot his homeboy because they didn't like your music or didn't want to listen to your music. So like, him on that larger scale would make me a whole lot more nervous, and we'd have to get a whole lot more supports around him in the event that was the case.
That escalated really quickly. And I think that's where the narcissistic personality disorder would, like, really those criteria and things would start to really solidify more and become a bigger issue, right? And so being a local celebrity, from my standpoint, I feel like would actually exaggerate that feeling of entitlement, or, feeling that self-importance, right? And that becoming an issue where I could see the prognosis for him and his relationship with the closest people who started with him, and them kind of being like, man, you changed, or like, you acting different, or him feeling like he's above them and like going into this next phase or era of life and kind of leaving them, the little people, behind. So I get that vibe when I think about his prognosis, especially when I'm considering the narcissistic personality disorder.
I feel like I have access to so much great information. I have more questions, but I'm curious what you think about the relationship between Key and Yvette and how he handled, because he had a dream, and she seems reasonable. Like, he could have just told her what he was doing. Like, I'm just curious what you think about how he handled that.
That was my whole conceptualization with Key is that I just want to see them for couples therapy. There's no diagnosis. I just want to see them for couples, because she was on some, like, I'm just going to tell you what you want to hear, and I'm not going to say, and then being further than push, like, of course, who would want their husband in a house full of hoes? And then him kind of, even when she came in, it was like, I just want to be a part. I just want to see what you're doing. Like, you clearly are very passionate about this. I want to show that I'm supporting you. Look, I got dill sauce in case you want to dip. If you And so with that level of support, Key, what is it that you feel that where you still feel uncomfortable with sharing that level of intimacy with your wife? And that it has been, when we see them first having dinner and it's just him pretending to listen, well, then what? You right? Okay. And he's not really paying attention. Clearly there's a level of intimacy that isn't really happening. There is a level of communication that isn't really happening. It's very surface of like, she's a good man. I mean, she's a good woman. He's a good man. And y'all are coming together for this good marriage, good Christian, wholesome, church-filled marriage. But there isn't real intimacy happening. And so I like that she actually showed up. She was very much so fighting for her marriage. I'm gonna fight for my marriage. And she showed up to the trap and with the sandwiches. And so she was showing her level of commitment, and then he allowed her in. But even with her coming in, he didn't like seem excited that she was there. He wasn't the one that welcomed her in. DJ was, and DJ's the one who said, we'd really like for you to stay. And he just was very reluctant until like he saw her bopping her head. And then he was like, okay, yeah, baby. Yeah. And so all of that would rose questions for me. And so I would really like to see them for couples and kind of get deeper into that.
I think his initial reaction was shock, like, man, I didn't know she really cared that much to show up and yet alone offer food, like, what's going on here? I think he was just like, okay, what's the next thing that's about to happen? She about to kick out, all kind of stuff, right? So I felt like he was processing what was really going on in that situation. And I felt like DJ had a good point. He was like, well, what needs to happen? She needs to have in her mouth. And I was like,
put something in her mouth.
sometimes.
That's only on his birthday. Remember? That's what he said. She get freaky on my birthday. So she only getting freaky on the birthday. Another something that we might need to address in couples counseling.
How often are we engaging in intimacy? Because that's important. I don't know.
I would also like to hear your thoughts on the statement Nola made after she procures the microphone and DJ is trying to make her feel better. And she says, correct me if I'm wrong, but she says something to the effect of like, I know when you're trying to get into my head, sometimes I need that, but not right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes my head needs to be messed with.
Yeah. That stood out for me too. Because again, going back to that initial first scene when he was just really fucking with her head, like all the words and all that.
That's pimping, honey. That's quality pimping.
Exactly.
That ain't just fucking with you. That's pimping.
Exactly. And at that moment, she was like, I don't need you to be a pimp. I need you to be my friend or my partner. And what you're telling me, that's what we are. I don't need that right now. That's how I interpret that.
If you're working
I really liked seeing her assert herself in that way in that moment too.
But how difficult is it working with someone who seems to have an awareness of how they're being manipulated? Like, I feel like it'd be very difficult to talk to to provide therapy to someone who is very aware of the situation they're in. Like, I mean, is that accurate or?
That's most clients. Yeah, I mean, because most times they're aware of what's going on. Like they know, and I think the hardest part is like what to do. Like especially for Nola, I felt like she wanted so much like structure and instruction from her environment that she was willing to do anything. And for that moment, it was like, yeah, I don't need you to tell me all this fantasy stuff. I need you to be real in this moment with me and understand that I felt violated. And she knew what she needed. She knew how she needed to say it. And I think most clients is like, they know what they need to say. They know what they need to do. Most times they just need someone to kind of champion them into the direction that is suited for them. And that's why I always tell people like, my role isn't here to fix you or answer answer questions to your problems or solve your problems. I'm just here to help you recognize that you have several options in this situation and you have the ability to make the best solution for yourself. So
I was going to suggest what came to my mind is maybe cognitive behavioral therapy for everyone in that household. But also for, as you said, DJ is resilient, but he puts all his eggs in the one basket with Skinny Black. And it's like somebody needed to tell him like, look, this is one potential avenue for you to get what you want, but there are other ways. Like, it's not the end of the world. It's like everything is like, we have one shot to do this. Like even how they lay down the track, it's like there's noise next door. Like they're living in such a way that it's like, it's now or never. And like that kind of panic that is underlying everything that they're doing is stressful.
Yes.
As a spectator, it was very frustrating watching him put all his eggs in one basket. Like, dude, it'll be okay if Skinny doesn't want to listen.
Right. I think he only knew how to hustle hoes. I don't think he understood how to hustle like his rap game, Yeah, and I think that might be the lesson that Nola surprisingly teaches him, and that, okay, I am a hoe and I can hustle your music and do it this way. Let me stop. But yeah, I feel like in that moment, that's where we realized, there's actually more than just trying to get Skinny Black to listen to your cassette tape.
Will you talk about when Lexus is antagonizing DJ, basically saying like he's not a man and he grabs her by the throat, and like what do you think she was looking for? Like, because I mean it feels very literal, like she wants him to be very aggressive with her, but how do you interpret that?
didn't diagnose Lexus. I just felt that she was a little bit miserable and clearly had been in some negative, toxic situations throughout her life. And so she, with the like how you just described her antagonizing, there are unfortunately individuals who feel like that aggressive behavior, that's how you show that you care. That's in the moment you're affirming, because she had just got left outside the club for 3 hours and then had to spend all her money to take a taxi. And so she felt dismissed, that she felt not important, and she wasn't involved in the music making at all. And this was something new that was getting his attention aside from the house. And so it seemed like this was her trying to take the attention back and force it. And then so when he come and he grabbed it, she literally says, do something. Like that is how I receive that you're paying attention to me, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And it seems like that it might have been how she got attention before, is that it was coming in an aggressive or in a violent manner. And so that's what she was in that way trying to get in that moment. And again, with the ethical pimping, I really appreciate that he didn't hit her. He just said, you know what, me and you are done. Like this, and I felt like that was him communicating the boundary. Like, this isn't beneficial for any of us anymore. This is, you get into a place where it's just disrespectful. Also, I'm the pimp here. Like you can't. These is my rules. This here my house. And so then put her out. Unfortunately, I just hated that the baby had to go too, because the baby didn't do nothing wrong, but the sins of the mother, I guess. But I felt like that's what she was trying to do in that moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I felt like the aggression, I know we didn't see it like filmed, right? But they were kind of scared of him. Like, even when Suge, when she said, I'm scared, and he popped up on her, she jumped. Like, I'm wondering if he actually did at some point hit them. Like, because they all seemed very timid, especially when that was going down, Nola was in the corner, like, and Suge is like having a full breakdown. So I'm wondering if there has been moments where he would have. But in that, he was like, I'm not giving you the energy.
I think it is probable. And unfortunately, many individuals who are choose sex work as a line of work have had very difficult backstories, histories, childhoods, upbringings, just negative experiences. And so what I'm seeing Nola, like Taraji is full on expressive. She's crying. They're taking the baby away. She was the one in the argument before. She's pregnant, very expressive, outwardly emotional. What I'm seeing from Nola is a full on, to me, would look like a trauma response, because she completely withdraws, turns inward. She lets one tear fall the entire time. And so that, for me, is kind of where I'm like, I feel like Nola has, and that's why she's able to have that insight later on. Like, maybe, again, we don't get much backstory about the girls, which I don't like, but definitely felt like Nola has had some negative experiences. And he says, like, when I met you, you was out tricking with the truckers, which is a very dangerous place to be in. Her being as tiny as she was and being out there by herself clearly lets me know enough to whereas she was just surviving. And so this is a more safe position than she was before. And so not wanting that to be taken away, it seems like everyone is kind of the ladies at least are in a place where this is better than the alternative. And so they just don't want it to be taken away. Like, that's Taraji's biggest fear, is like, you want me to leave because she's not working. And just, it very much so was like lots of trauma response I'm seeing, people being triggered. And so I like, Nick, what you said about CBT, especially I'm thinking with Nola, because she has so much insight and she is so aware of everything that's going on. And so I want to intervene in that. Like, we see the things that are happening. I want to figure out what those core beliefs are. I want to figure out what are those automatic thoughts that you're having that's leading to the responses that we're seeing. Because if we can kind of get in there, then maybe we can change some of those responses so that she can continue to advocate for herself. She can continue to set those healthy boundaries, whether she continues to deal with DJ as his hoe or now as his marketing team, whatever that may be.
One more. You alluded to it already, but before DJ leaves to go see Skinny and then he runs back into the house and has this passionate moment with Taraji's character, I wonder, what do you think his intention is? Because I didn't think it was sexual as much as just he felt seen And like, do you feel like him having a healthy relationship with her is even possible? Like, under what conditions could they have a I want them to be happy. I just want
I do too. I do too.
Well, really, Swarovski, I want to.
Right, exactly.
Their definition of happy, they would achieve. Would other people look at it and say that it's healthy? I don't know. But, who are we to judge? That's them. They like it. I love it. But I think that it was him allowing himself to have that experience with her. And that's why he kind of had to run back and go do it in the immediate time, because when she's talking about being scared and he's touching the belly, it seemed like those were feelings. Like he was feeling something in that moment, and him kind of jumping up was like removing himself from feeling stuff. Like, I can't do this. Pippin, I got to protect myself. I got to be on my game. I got to be on point. And this was him like giving in and allowing himself to feel something and be connected to somebody else. And so is it happy and healthy in the long run?
For me, because I'm like such a romantic, I was like, oh my gosh, that's him showing that he really loves her. And because he explained the type of love he had for Nola, and then to see him like outwardly display the love that he was saying is different from Nola was like, oh, this is the actual love that's not like brother and sister. And so it was like, I think for me, when I thought about it, I said, oh, wow, he really appreciates this necklace and the lava lamp. Like, this is how much he really appreciates it. Thank you so much. And I mean, it was simple. It was, and it made me think, like, it really is the little things that help you understand and appreciate someone in your life. And in that moment, I think he hadn't experienced it. And to have it was like, yeah, this you're no longer my bottom bitch.
That's the bottom bitch.
You're now my bitch, Like,
but no, because I still think that he would pimp her out, like if it time needed after the baby. I still think
a pimp is a pimp. You're right, but I think he would be a little more.
I think there would be more care. There would be more concern. But
like, this one's 100, not 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Side note. Am I the only one who wondered how Suge paid for the lava lamp and the custom chain?
The chain. I was like, what she been holding out? I'm surprised she didn't get her ass beat.
Even if you go to the mall and get one from the kiosk, that has to be like, what, $30, $40? I mean, I don't know.
Right, back then,
So I was like, the lava lamp, maybe the flea market, maybe you could catch that.
I was thinking swiper, no swiping.
Oh. Even better. Because we learned in the Mac that girls get trained.
Yeah.
But the chain, I was like, that's custom. She had to have them spell that out now.
Can't mop it if it's custom. You got to go pick it up. And
that's true. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, she could have been like, let me see. And it ran,
Right.
Yeah.
With the pregnant belly?
Like my dry cleaning.
So I did diagnose Suge with dependent personality disorder, and the criteria that I felt like she fit was having difficulty making everyday decisions without an excessive amount of advice and reassurance from others. I felt like more so with the reassurance as opposed than from the advice. Needing others to assume responsibilities for major areas of her life. Having difficulty expressing disagreement with others because of fear of loss of support or approval. Having goes to extensive lengths to obtain nurturance and support from others to the point of volunteering to do things that are unpleasant, feeling unrealistically preoccupied with fears of having left to take care of herself, urgently seeks other relationships as a source of care and support when a close relationship ends. And so I wanted to ask, we see, especially for Suge, we see lots of system things playing a part, like in her even being like, I can't stand in that line all day, like how they, especially if I got the baby with me. So wanted to see, like, from the social work perspective, system wise, how would what are the supports if you were Suge's case manager and trying to get her, levels of support? How would you approach that? Because there's so many levels.
Oh, I don't even where they First, I feel like she probably should get out of that house. God, I don't even know. I don't. I feel like I'm stuck on wanting to remove her from that scenario, but
she ain't leaving. So
what
you
are we
can
gonna
suggest
do?
it, but she ain't going. So
That's true. Would probably start with making sure she's trying to set her up with maybe what are her skills and interests and what can we learn? How can we develop that to find a job or an occupation that you can start getting your feet wet into? And also plans preparing for how she's going to care for this child, considering that she might really be stuck alone doing that. She can't really depend on anyone else in this house to help with the child's needs. So I think that would be where we'd start with support for her.
yeah, because
Like,
DJ in jail.
Right, where she is like right now and what she needs, but with some kind of long-term goals about where we're going. How do you see your life? What do you want?
That seems like a good opportunity.
Make her vocalize that, because I don't think she knows. Just like Nola, I don't think they've been allowed to even think beyond the survival of today, maybe. So start with, that's where I'd probably want to start with her, I guess.
Yeah, because even with Nola, when she is stepping into her own, she literally to the T is just, she has on the suit and the phone with the ear jack and the new shoes. She has exactly what DJ described. And so she is basically still living in the vision that DJ had for her. And so Suge doesn't really have, she's not given that type of direction. And so it would be so much just figuring out, like, what do you want for your life? And if you're not okay with figuring that out for yourself, okay, in the systems that you exist in, how do you feel that you're helpful? How do you feel that you are supporting the family, your chosen family? What role do you play there? How can we play up? Okay, so you're good with childcare. Okay, so does that mean that you get into the field of childcare? Like, how do we play up your strengths so that you can feel purposeful? Because it's almost to the point where she's lacking that, and she finds it by supporting DJ. Okay, DJ in jail now, so you got to support yourself and this child. What does that look like?
My thought was, why is nobody at least trying to get a job, like actually, like a W-9 or something? Like, why is it that the only person who's employed? I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it needs to be said. Why did, like, one is a stripper and she's like, I'm making the money for the house. Like, really? You could be making that same kind of money at McDonald's, girl. Chill out. Like, I know you're not pulling in good money.
Yeah, I felt the same way, if not only to get air conditioning. Like, be somewhere where there's air conditioning.
Okay. And now we hopping in the car because the car got AC. Oh, he got AC. It was sad, but I'm just saying, like, in my mind, I guess to Nick's point, like, you know, figuring out, like, occupationally, what can we do to afford, you know, to continue to live in your environment? Because I might be making this inference, but it sounded as though Key, when he came to visit DJ in prison, he said that they paid for the phone bill. They
said they're gonna chip in and pay the phone bill.
Right. So again, like, okay, I get it. Like, Nola, you doing the hustle thing and trying to get the track out, but girl, we could work.
She keeping the lights on. What do you mean? This woman is out here working double time. She is the sole marketing team for Whoop That Trick. And in addition, also out here making this money to get to feed Suge and the baby and herself. This woman is doing double duty now. We're not going to judge her.
And as a Jamaican who works 3 jobs, okay, I'm still saying you can trick on the side and flip a burger is all I'm saying.
We don't know she wasn't, because clearly she was doing something. She was able to afford her little earpiece with the cord attached.
She probably fucked for it. I mean, she fucked for a mic.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, you trick at night, and during the day you do something else.
Like,
she's marketing during the day. That's when the radio stations. She got to go hit the radio stations during the day.
Look at these. No, you know, I think you're just making some excuses for this.
I am meeting the client where they are at. Thank you very much. There
has to be something break. For it. Right? Like, geez, that pussy deserves
that woman is out
break.
Here working hard, okay?
Oh, Lord. Oh. That was just too much. I think, like, kind of going back to what Nick said earlier, it just seems like the struggle was just so real, but did it have to be?
Nola also looked
hard?
12. Can she read? We don't know if the girl can read good. We don't.
Oh,
we
you
don't
do
know.
have a point. Okay, all right. See, now we're making sense here, because then maybe there is a limitation as to why they are not gainfully employed. Right?
There usually is. Again, I have told you multiple times on this show, selling cat is for emergencies only. Clearly, these women are in their emergency state. They have tried X, Y, and Z. Those things did not pan out the way that they thought that they would. And so here they are.
Look, okay, so if that's the case, then what that mouth do? I understand. We gotta come in.
Get that phone bill back on, girl.
Oh.
I'm just saying, okay. Look, delete that, Daniel. I'm being bad. Delete that.
Well, now that the baby is born, she can get back on. Maybe that's what did they trade off on watching the baby. And so she can get back out here in these streets.
This life is so
I feel hopeful for Suge, because with DJ out of the picture for a year, maybe there can be some intervention and she can find her own way. Yeah.
I agree.
I'm curious.
I like that, but I feel like she's just gonna find something else to attach herself to.
Yeah. Like, yeah, DJ's not the problem per se for her.
It's her.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
It's her allowing that. And so she's just going to attach to something else. But DJ may be a problem, but her attachment to DJ is what her problem is presenting as. And so if she just attaches herself to the baby, okay, then maybe, we can figure some things out. But if it then becomes just an attachment to something else, or her and Nola something happens there, then I'm still concerned. I would like to make sure that she has good follow-up supports going forward, because she would be someone that I would be concerned about.
I think we're not realizing that, like, Suge is actually I feel like she's very smart, like, and how, like, she's presenting. She has a lot of self-awareness, a lot of empathy and compassion. And so even as she's, like, saying the word, she's like, can I say 4? Because this sounds real ghetto. 4, so I think she has the capability to foul. Yeah. Foul. And so I know that if she didn't have the pregnancy, that she would have been in a different position and being able to take care of herself. And then also understanding that her role and position, that I may be kicked out. So I feel like in the back of her mind, she might be preparing for the fact that she could be kicked out, or like, I need to leave.
She spent that money on that chain.
The fact that she had money in the first place says something. Like,
true.
She had money, right? We don't know where it came from, but it might have been something. She kept a little sock in a drawer somewhere, hidden from everybody for a case of emergency, or somebody blow up. So here we go.
It was in her powdered titty.
It was in her powdered titty the whole time.
When she paid, she just said, dust it off.
Oh, no.
Okay. At least it's dry.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
I feel like
true.
It probably absorbed that sweat.
Oh my God. Salty money.
It's better than the money that DJ gave the drug dealer dude in the corner store. He got his assets on it first and then gave it to him.
My dumb
That's
ass.
the way go take it.
You would have smelled it. Oh, no.
Smell that money.
But and I want to apologize for interrupting you, Dr. Rose. It's just, I had to make sure we're a Memphis movie now. And so 8 Ball said, you say 4, we say 4. So I had to make sure that you said
okay. You're right, Mike. So I forgot what I was saying. That's fine.
How many times do you say May in this movie?
221 times.
We do need to shout out the soundtrack. It's very good. And the lead song was the second rap song to win an Oscar. So that's impressive.
Well, especially in 2005, if you think about it.
Man. Yes.
Did win that. Yeah.
That was awesome. I mean, I really thought for a second, I was like, who wrote these songs? Because they're actually really good.
They are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make these suckers recognize I ain't playing hoe. If you violate off the top trick, you gotta go.
Like, wow, that's really talent.
How do we feel about Christopher Bridges, aka Ludacris's acting?
Ludacris is a good actor. Actually, I think his character was just shitty. I think that Skinny Black was such an asshole that he had to really play up his I ain't never coming back. You miss me. You don't know me. I don't know that nigga. Like it was a lot of theatrics because I felt like that's who Skinny Black was. And so he had to
Nick, do I know him from another movie besides the Fast and Furious?
Crash.
Yep.
Crash.
Oh,
Yeah.
Crash. That's right.
Yeah. He was in that with Terrence Howard too.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Which I haven't watched in a long, long time, but
I don't.
May deserve a revisit.
yeah.
I don't know how much time we have left, but I feel compelled, since the only thing I'm qualified to talk about is hair, is
let's get into it. Can we please address I have several questions about hair.
So the first thing is Taryn Manning's hair, Nola. So she has these individual micro braids that are not, like, her entire head is not braided. And so that's already
wondering. Well, I was like, is this whole patch just not done? Did they run out of hair? And so she just styles it to the side.
I'm so concerned about it, not only because it's not finished, but the beauty of textured hair is that it holds a braid very easily. Like that's why it's ideal. But when you have that fine, thin, straight hair that gets greasy in 6 hours, I can't even imagine how well those braids. And men are tugging
sweating?
on hair.
Yeah.
Sweating. But the thing that killed me is she tells DJ at one point, or she tells someone, I think Shelby at one point.
She got to keep the tricks guessing. She has to get it done regularly because it keeps the tricks guessing.
Where?
I use that in real life.
Where? When did this happen that you switched it up? The only time it's different is when she puts it up.
Right.
Well, at the end, she got those ponytails at the end.
Yeah.
If I were in charge of hair for that movie, I would have just had her in wigs. I think it would have made more sense for the character, like her needing to switch it up. And the fact that it's hot, I think we could have played up that she takes it off and she has to turn into a different character when she puts them on. But yeah, I don't know.
But they pose. She can't afford wigs.
Get you a cute little synthetic for
That's what happened. She only had enough money to get this side of her head done. And so she was like, so I know that I don't have all of it. So can you just make sure you do the perimeter and then the middle can just stay?
That's a good point. Because, braiding hair is cheap. And the fact that she couldn't get enough to, and her head is tiny.
Right.
Her head is very tiny.
She's also got no equilibrium, so
Okay.
He said, "You just knock into shit. You're sitting, Nola. Ain't that damn far to fall."
Actually, that's a quotable line. Yeah,
it really is. It's a funny one too.
I'm also compelled to I actually like DJ's hair. I think he looks sharp as a tack. But all I could think about is how hot it is. And what those pillowcases must be like. And I was trying to figure out if his hair is processed. If he doesn't have a relaxer, he probably has like a soft permanent wave, like a jerry curl. And then he gets, Terrence Howard probably had roller sets, but then in the movie they showed him getting it curled. But with that weather and no air conditioning, I just can't even imagine. I'd be so uncomfortable all the time.
My roots would immediately, like with the curling iron being that close to me in that heat, my roots would immediately turn into a black power fist. Like immediately just lock right back up. And so it would be like mini fro wave. Like it would not be cute. I wanted to ask though about Taraji's technique. Did she meet your approval with the comb, with the curls?
She did. She was careful. She didn't test the heat of the iron, but maybe she's so experienced she didn't need to.
Yeah, because she's the bottom bitch, and so this is her job. And so she probably curls his hair every Tuesday. It's probably a thing.
Yeah, it's not her first time at the rodeo.
Yeah, no, it's wash day. This is what we do.
Shout out to Raji for her hairline, her hair care line. Yeah, plug.
Her wig was cute though. I really liked her wig, and I liked it on her. Like it was very
in the movie.
Yeah, you didn't like her wet and wavy wig.
I'm sorry, everybody was sweaty and looking crazy, so I don't know.
That's why I felt like it fit because she was always sweaty, so the curls made sense.
I agree. I thought her hairstyle made sense.
Okay.
What about Paula's?
I hated until she got thrown out. Now, when she got thrown out, I liked her curls. Those were cute. That's a good out. That was a whole nice little ensemble together to get thrown out in. If you got to go make something work and you on your last, like that's the way that you should look. But everything else was absolutely terrible, and I hated it.
Hated it.
All of the things that they could have did for that beautiful woman, and that's what they chose. I mean, she worked in the strip club. Now, you know, when you work in a strip club, hair has got to be on point. You got to be the fantasy. You got to be the fantasy. We saw Players Club. You had to. Yeah. She could have got her a Ronnie wig in the same blonde color or something, but it was not giving what it was supposed to, because the other girls in the strip club was together and she was.
Were they?
It was better than her. Remember the clapper?
The clapper. She was the all-star. She was the bottom bitch of the strip club.
Yeah. She was the Mercedes.
Oh. When did we last watch The Players Club? Recently, right?
Yeah.
Poor Paula.
Love him. I mean, you gotta make the money. Don't let it make you, you know. And
oh goodness,
that's the lesson here.
We're talking about hair. My question is: did DJ braid his own damn hair when he was in jail? Why them braids look like that?
That's true.
Oh, good point. Well,
but they were terrible. Now, every man I know that done been to jail and got braids, they at least look like they sat in the barber chair and somebody straightened out the parts. His look like they look like stitches.
I want to imagine that his like cellmate, a very large man,
right,
has made DJ his girlfriend, and he braided DJ's hair. That's the fantasy I'm in right now.
I'm with you. I'm following, because I thought the same thing. I was like, oh wow, one of his jail friends did that.
Yeah, he made a friend at least.
Yeah, you know.
I didn't like it. He need better friends. He need a friend that can do hair a little bit better, because this person was just trying it out. It was rough.
those are the type of braids that you had contraband in.
Oh yes, there was a razor in one of those. For sure.
Not contraband.
You got your shank in one part, you know. You got your moonshine in the other.
Those are all the notes I went through. This has been such a treat, like getting to pick your brain. It's such an interesting perspective. I mean, this is why I love your podcast, is we get to hear about, we get insight into things that we wouldn't normally think about. So it feels like a privilege.
Oh man, I really appreciate both your insight as well, especially like, you know, as far as like design, costume, and hair, but then also the other side as far as like the movie critique and, you know, the information, the background information of that, because I largely lack in that area. So it's really nice having that.
Same.
It's also what makes you guys' this show so fun as well. And so we want to encourage everyone that is listening to make sure that you go listen and support the Fish Jelly podcast as well. And if you guys could please let our viewers, because y'all podcast is like, we say, you know, get it wherever you get podcasts available, like, but y'all are really everywhere that the podcasts are available. So please let our listeners and viewers know how to listen to the show, get in touch with y'all. If you're selling anything, please promote at will.
So our podcast and YouTube channel are called Fish Jelly, and all the podcast is available on all platforms. And our YouTube channel, we're very active on. We also have merchandise, which we have links to the shop everywhere. Every description, every video, you can find it. So please help support me live the lifestyle I know I deserve. And
yes, we love that for you.
Yeah,
thank you.
I was gonna make a joke about being a bottom bitch, but I guess probably.
That would be the time to do it. Yes, you can't tease us with a good time.
Nick would be the bottom bitch, I guess.
Yeah, I prefer the term workhorse, but you know,
I like that.
See, in this case, bottom bitch sounds a little bit more glamorous. I'd rather be a bottom bitch than a horse.
Oh. Yeah, thank you so much for having us. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. I'm hoping that we can maybe do something like this again.
Oh, yeah.
In the future. Yes.
Oh, I when Joseph was asking for suggestions, I gave him a list of like 30 movies we should talk about.
Oh, really?
I had to narrow it down.
I know. So we can choose maybe some from that list, because I really do, again, appreciate your perspective, your unique perspective, especially with viewing and critiquing films, because that's essentially what we kind of do here too. But we also come from that
a very novice
way. Very novice, right? So this
George
is
Finger, excuse
awesome.
us.
Yeah, right.
Very well thought out. But that's the glory of film, is there's so many perspectives and ways to approach something. It doesn't have to be one way, you know?
Absolutely.
Love all of it. And so with that being said, if you would like to support the show and help us get more content out to you all, you can visit our website and follow the support the show link to become a Patreon member or donate on our Cash App. Now, we're happy to get the kind of money that jingles, but we'd rather the kind that folds. As always, be sure to follow us on Instagram at the DSM Podcast, and you can subscribe to our show wherever you get podcasts. While you're there, go ahead and leave us a comment, because we are counselors and actually care about what you have to say. So until next time, y'all, peace.
Okay, bye, you cinephiles.
Bye.